Now, every year we get a new buzz trend in the stock market, a sector that seems to be off to the moon, whether it be cannabis or EV, whatever it is. This year, 2023, it seems to be AI, and that's thanks to ChatGPT highlighting the gradual growth of this sector and its influence on all sorts of industries. And recently I did a video on my favourites for this year, which I'll put a link at the end of this video so you can watch that if you missed it. But this one, we're going to focus on a company called C3.AI. Now, US based, very interesting stock, one of my favourite picks. I'm going to dig into the fundamentals, bit of background, have a look at the charts and see where that stock price may be heading next and where you can get your hands on such a stock. So with that, let's get on with the analysis. So I'm going to start in their website, C3.AI.com, and first impressions, quite impressive. Now, if you scroll down through the page, you're going to learn an awful amount about these guys, and you can actually see, and this surprised me actually, what stocks, what other companies they are involved with, or organisations for that matter. Shell, US Air Force, Baker Hughes, Coke, a company I used to work for. Some really big names there. And then if we scroll further down, you can start to see what they do. AI applications, development tools, the application platform. You can see sort of areas they're involved with, oil and gas, financial, defence, sustainability, supply chain, a whole host of areas, and a list of the companies. I'd say we've already saw some of them already. Give you an idea what they're up to. Other big ones: Philips, Duke Energy, Johnson Controls, Raytheon, all big names. And it surprised me. These are established companies going to these guys for business. Now, the C3 AI Studios, it says there, they're on data science, deep code, low code, and no code. AI and machine learning. It's the future, it seems, of almost all industries at the moment, and it's a buzz market, so it's a good time to get in on these sort of stocks. So have a look through the website. It's a very comprehensive one, got a lot more information up the top there that you can follow up the different areas that they're in, like healthcare, telecoms, other ones that we didn't mention, government, customers, resources, news, and company information. So very good start there. So seem to be a pretty decent setup organisation with certainly a long-term view and growth opportunity. Heading into one of my brokers now for a bit more of a deeper dive. This is Tiger Brokers. Pulled up the ticker C3AI. You can see the chart there in front of you. You can see some impressive growth in the last, really since the beginning of this year. And hit the news tab just to see anything going on, anything standing out. There's really not that much on them about. Did see that they were including in the Zacks investment idea feature highlights for this year, so I'm not the only one watching them, they're out there. And what about the financials, a bit more background analysis on size and that sort of thing. Up there in the top right we've got short interest, and you can actually see the blue line there actually has been falling, so maybe people get more positive with this stock, less likely to be shorted now. They can see it maybe as a more established player. And we scroll further down, we got some targets for valuation of the stock, and if we talk about analyst price targets, well, we've got a high of 30 to 15 or 11 there, the lowest. So a bit of an interesting number, because quite frankly it's already reached those targets for this year already. So maybe we want to be looking further up, and maybe they want to revise their targets. If this trend in AI stocks keeps on building the momentum there, then it could go a lot higher. There's not too many analysts who've given it their once over. You can see we've got 7 hold, 2 buy, so overall you'd call it a hold in that world. And we go down to some fundamental analysis, and you can see here this sort of heat map, approach, web approach to sort of giving you an idea of whether it's a good or bad sort of stock. It's not too bad really, looking at those numbers there. And in terms of their opinions on the technicals, well, short-term trend rising, medium long obvious rising, and some support pressure levels there as well. So a lot of information you can actually gain from this broker. We're going to look into the technicals in a bit more in a minute. And in terms of financials, well, annual income last year 252 million. You can see profitability, turnover rate, solvency here, not too bad. And we've got income statements, balance sheet information, quite a lot there to get your teeth into. But they're a pretty new company, so they're not going to have mass amount of data there for us to get into, and that's one of the risks of getting into these companies. And as we've seen in other sectors like EV, there's going to be stocks coming and going, and I imagine it'll be the same in the AI world. And we've got to remember that those big players out there, the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts, they're all heavily into this stuff as well, so they'll be putting pressure on these guys too. So they've got to be something pretty special to stay around and establish themselves in this sector. And some other information that I've pulled back. There's about 700 employees, head office Redwood City. Interestingly, Condoleezza Rice, independent director, on the board there. That's quite an interesting person to have on your board. Market cap just over 3 billion. Volume probably trading around 100 million, especially at the moment, with a bit more interest there. So we've gone through the fundamentals, and like we say, summary sort of takeaway there is it's a relatively new company. Doesn't look too bad. It looks well backed, well funded, and its customer base is very impressive. So let's dive into the technical analysis now to try and get an idea of where in the short and medium long term the price could be heading. Also throw in some trade ideas there for you as well. So just before we get into C3's technicals, I'm going to have a look at an ETF. It's the Global X Artificial Intelligence and Technology ETF, ticker AIQ. Now these are really good, these ETFs, at getting an idea of the strength of the sector as a whole. And as you can see from the chart, we had a great growth from the start of that COVID lockdown, and then that big pullback, and as the numbers show, they're down nearly 50%. But since October time, actually it started to pick up again, a lot of volume, a lot higher as well. So it stands every chance of getting through these next key Fibonacci areas up to those highs, 33 again. So in the sort of more shorter term, looking a bit more positive. Now into C3 itself, and as you can see, it's a relatively new stock. December time of 2020 it came out, and didn't have a great start to its life, and to those lows that we've seen recently, down nearly 95%. Now at the moment, in terms of indicators, all looking a bit more positive. Trend is up, volatility and volume both up. And looking at those targets, we're talking probably $50 is the next sort of upside area that we want to be targeting, where we can see that noise back there in October time of 21, and then maybe 75 and 100. That would be a very good year for C3, but it has got scope to go up to those highs around all-time highs around 180 and up even further if it really takes off into the mid $200 range. Now if we're talking shorter term trade ideas, the 4-line break chart, great setup for reversals, and at the moment, because of that recent bullish up run that we've seen, we've got a bearish setup in place for that reversal. If you're bearish, the stock a couple of numbers there for you to get in at, 23 and 21 and 3/4. Now heading into the Renko chart, shorter medium term views. On the left it's the short term view, block size 50 cents, and we can see just this short term correction in the price that we're currently going through. There it is, and that has impacted our signals. That's the trend sort of direction momentum filter there, giving us a bearish setup at the moment. The stochastics, short-term stochastics, still holding strong at the moment, so mixed messages there. So maybe not quite the right time to get into this stock. Timing is key, and that's what we will be looking and using these charts for. Once we get the signals in the shorter term, 30, 36, 38 to the upside for the targets, and heading over to the right hand side, medium term perspective, not looking too bad. We got the indicator there bullish, and our stochastics there actually bearish, so again mixed, again telling us maybe it's not quite the right term in the long term to be getting in. We've just had a pullback in the price from that Fibonacci zone, about $32. Now if we're looking for upsides, then using the Fibonacci trend from that big pullback, then $45, let's say, then $55, and then $65, the next three upside targets. So with that, let's find out now where and how we can trade this stock, and maybe chuck in a few trade ideas as well for you. If you're into your CFD trading, or for that matter even the underlying stock, then I've got this broker account here, eToro. They're going to give you access to that. You want a bit of leverage with that CFDs, then this could be the place for you. C3.AI, there you can see, ready and available for you to trade. And what about maybe if you're into your options trading, what could you do? Back into Tiger Brokers, you can see down in the right hand corner you can go long and short, a lot of information as well, the ladder there of prices. But what about options? Click on there and there's plenty to pick from. Not a massive array of expiry dates there, but enough to keep you interested. They do go out there a couple of years, plenty to pick from. And at the moment, well, with the momentum there, you're probably thinking, what should I be looking for? Well, maybe an outright call around the at the money or just below could be an interesting one. Or maybe if you're into a bit more of a punt on this one, maybe more of a low delta. And in terms of expiry, give it some time to work. I would even maybe stick it back 165, even 312 days to get it where it's going to keep the costs down. If we looked at that 312 day, that's about Christmas time of this year, and there's plenty to pick from. You can see strike at the money there, about $25, costing you $10, $11 to get into that trade. Or like you said, go further out, check the different strikes, deltas, and also think about putting combinations together, maybe some income plays that might work out nicely from a bullish perspective on there due to the volatility of the instrument. So there you go, we've covered off CFDs, underlying stock, long, short, and some options plays for you to think about. So it's score time, and I'm going for weak bullish overall. Yes, the longer term hasn't been so great. We saw that big 95% pullback in the price, but I'm adding in the ETF AI sector warming up nicely as well, so there's some momentum more at the sort of higher level with those type of stocks, and as we've seen, a lot of interest out there at the moment. So I've weighted more of the shorter term into this decision. Now, sentiment fundamentals also looked good, which helped that decision making process. Line break chart, there as you can see, a couple of numbers in 23, 21 and 3/4 to the downside if you are bearish to stock, and target wise upside 1.56, 3.56 to 1, and downside 0.77 and 1.23 to 1. So like I said, weak bullish overall. It's in a growing sector, a sector that is very popular at the moment, so it's definitely worth a consideration. It doesn't look a bad stock, C3.AI, so I'm going to be watching it closely in 2023. Now, I said that I would add the link to the video on my other favorite AI stocks for 2023, and that's coming up right now.